Hello there, guys. So you're probably asking yourself, what premium should I buy, if any, from this next major update that is coming out very soon? And well, I'm going to help you walk through all the premiums and see which one might be a good fit for you, if any at all. So the first one we're going to be starting off, we're just going to be moving from left to right. We're going to be taking a look at the brand new A-18C Early. So this premium obviously is going to be a very solid choice if you are wanting to grind the US air tree. You get access to a new missile that is exclusive for this update, the AIM-7Ps. Now, these just have data link and stuff like that, so they're a little bit better than the AIM-7Ms that some of you are familiar with if you've played any of the American tree up at the higher BRs. I think the 7M's pretty good. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of them, but I think they're pretty reliable in terms of guiding into a target that's flying high. You have to remember these are radar missiles, so anything low to the ground, these aren't going to want to go after. You do also have access to the AIM-9Ls, so we do not get the AIM-9M, but the 9L is not a bad missile by any means, especially for 12.7. It'll get the job done. Now, the weapons loadout isn't as crazy as, let's say, the F-18C Late, which features a whopping 10 AIM-120s and 2, I believe they're 9Ls, because I don't think the Navy variants of aircrafts get the 9Ms, if I'm correct. Let's just double check. Oh, so this is, yeah, so 9Ms. So you do get access to 9Ms. I think the first day of the dev server, they didn't have them, or maybe I was just absolutely spastic. Nope, they were on there day one. Okay, trust me, guys, I know what I'm talking about. But other than that little quarrel, they do get the 9Ms, which has the IRCCM, great missile, right? But we're looking at the premiums right now, so this one does get the access to the 9Ls. So the 9Ls I don't think are bad missiles by any means. I think they'll definitely get the job done at the BR. They still have a great amount of Gs that they can pull, a great motor in them. They'll hit the targets as long as you're sneaking up on them. So what I usually like to do is, like, when I think of using 9Ls or 9Ms or anything of the sort, I usually will be in like an F-16 ADF or something along that nature, right, where you can get up high and absolutely decimate an enemy just because they're not paying attention and you're just diving down on them. So I think this vehicle is, I don't know, it is a pretty hefty price tag for $80. This vehicle, though, is featured pretty high in the tech tree. You rank 8, you'll be able to unlock anything, any rank. And another thing about it is, if they add a rank 9, if that ever comes out, you will be able to research it with maximum efficiency. Alright, so moving on to the next nation. Germany did not get very much besides, well, I guess they got a lot in terms of premiums compared to other nations. So I think we'll start off with the ground here, which is going to be the Clovis. So this here, we'll just replace that real quick so we can pull this thing up. This vehicle, I'm going to say it the same about the French. This vehicle, I think, is going to be very good for rank 5. With Germany especially, you have a lot of different vehicles that you can bring in at 8.0. Why is the mouse showing up at 8.0? Do we have... Oh, we have arcade battles. I was about to say. Okay, there we go. It's like, mouse is 7.7. Yeah, there we go. So, this is at 8.0. Now, you have a lot of different things you can pull in. You have the BMP-1. You have the Leopard 1. You have the Martyr 1A3. My only quarrel with this vehicle is it does run out of ATGMs pretty fast because you only carry a limited amount of them. Yeah, it's 4. The DF-105 I have not unlocked yet, but I can vouch for it being a good vehicle in an 8.0 lineup. Obviously, you can get the Lukes or the Weasel. The Panzer H-2000, awesome vehicle. Rakuten automatic, pretty good vehicle. If you wanted to up tier it to 8.3, let's say you wanted to do a little premium lineup or whatnot, you could add the Term 3, right, and then get your Gepard in there. I don't think there's much of a problem going 0.3 BR higher. I know some other people like to just stick to 8.0. So if you're one of those people that likes to stick to just the specific BR range, then you definitely have a good lineup here for Germany. So so you also get a 20 millimeter autocannon, and I believe, yeah, it's a 105 with a autoloader built in. So the reload is not bad, being only 5 seconds on the main gun. Now moving on, okay, that was weird. Moving on to the Tiger. Obviously, I'm not a big advocate for buying premium helicopters, just especially after the feature of them adding it to where you can grind helicopter lines with your tech tree ground vehicles, right? Or with premium ground vehicles. I think that the efficiency is a lot better there, just because they did nerf a lot of the earn rates for heli PvE maybe just under a year ago. But this vehicle, if you're looking for something to add to your 10-7 lineup, this is not going to be it, right? So Germany doesn't really have much 11.0s besides the Puma VJTF, the one with the spikes on it. Yeah, it's in a rough BR, right? If it was 10-7, I'd say definitely, because you do have a lot of stuff that you could use then. Or I guess it's not really, but you have two Leopards if you're trying to rock that, and then you've got these guys here that you can use as well. But since it is 11.0, I just don't think it's very worth. I think that's because it gets access to the Hellfire missiles. This vehicle is essentially the same as, if we run over here, the same as the French helicopter. If you guys know that one that's here. And this one is at 10.0. The only difference, or the major difference, being the ATGMs it gets access to. So these ones are obviously a lot worse. Textures want to load. These ones are a lot worse. The Hot 3s are a lot worse than the Hellfires, obviously, but you get access to the same Mistral air-to-air missiles, and you get the same amount of them. It's a lot better of a situation there, right? So we're going to take a look over here now, back to the USSR. So anything on the helicopter there, I don't think it's worth currently, with the way that you can grind things in the check tree and heli PvE, as well as the battle rating. So Russia did not receive any premiums, but I know some of you guys like to purchase squadron vehicles, so we'll be taking a look at this. So basically, this is the tech tree one, this is the squadron one. Now the M2 is basically just better than this one in every regard, with only a 0.3 BR increase. Now, for the people that really love those HE slingers, this is a very fun vehicle to gain access to, right? And I think, I could say that you guys will grind this out, and you could grind it out through your squadrons, but I know you goofy, silly HE slinger guys are going to want to buy this thing right off rip, which I'm not going to blame you for that, right? This is definitely going to be a very fun vehicle. I'm definitely looking forward to unlocking it once I finish up. I believe I'm currently researching the one in the Israeli tree, the Magash 6B Gal. But nonetheless, this vehicle should be very fun to use. Definitely would recommend picking it up if you have a 7.3 to 7.7 lineup for Russia. But now back on to the premiums. We have the Harrier T.10. So obviously this is not a vehicle I would recommend to buy for air-to-air purposes. So like if you're looking to play something in air, there are plenty of better options in the premium area to grind. Obviously you got the MiG-21 Bison. You have the F4J UK if you're somebody who likes to bomb bases. You also have access to the Harrier GR1. But do keep in mind, this is not able to research the entirety of the tree if you're looking for something to grind out the whole tree. Harriers are not the worst aircrafts in the world, right? This one is definitely a unique one for sure, and it gets access to a lot of good ground pound munitions. You got all of these different things, right? You got your AGM 65s, you've got rockets, you've got dumb bombs, you've got GBUs, right? It's basically, the world is your oyster, right, when it comes to ground pounding. But this vehicle, I don't know if it's necessarily the best for quote-unquote grinding, right? I wouldn't use this to grind out a tree, but let's say I could see maybe it being worth the price tag to somebody who doesn't want to grind the tree. Like, for example, if your tree looks like mine, right, and you don't want to grind out any of this, right? Let's say you don't want to go after any of the tornadoes, the typhoons, or anything like that. You just like your challengers and stuff like that. Then I would maybe say this could be worth, right? If you're just looking to do ground pound. The only thing I would be wary about is the countermeasures only being 60. And I believe if we go take a look at the pod on it, I think it's only chaff, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong. Yeah, large caliber chaff countermeasures. So yeah, it's only chaff. So you get 216 chaff, which is a bit rough, right? So I'm not saying that this is unusable. 60 countermeasures is still a lot. You could do the chaff pod and then also just switch all of your flares to that, and then that'd probably be fine. But then you do keep in mind you lose a missile pylon. This thing only gets access to the AIM-9Ls, if I'm correct. Yeah, AIM-9Ls. So you get 4 of them. I don't think that that's going to be anything crazy on this flight model, right? Harriers aren't very fast. You won't have a bunch of inertia going into that missile. But if you're looking for something to ground pound and you don't want to grind the British air tree, I could see this maybe being worth then in that sense. But with that stated, we'll move on to the next nation, which is going to be Japan. So Japan is receiving a pretty interesting vehicle. I was not expecting this to ever come. I didn't even really know. I guess after the whole quarrel, right, with the M1 KVT over here in the US tech tree, there was a lot of people who were very upset with this thing when it got added. But I guess we're not really seeing that right now with Japan, right? So this vehicle is going to be at rank 5. Do I think it's worth the price tag for rank 5? No, I don't think. I believe it's $40 is what they're asking for, right? I don't really think that's worth for an 8.3 vehicle. But I will say this thing looks pretty cool. I mean, if you really, really want to grind Japan and you're not really wanting to buy anything else that they have to offer, I know this has returned to the, on this side page here, the premium page permanently. It used to be something that came and went. Type 90B Fuji, hands down, still the best grinder for Japan if you're looking to complete the ground tree quickly. I love this vehicle. You guys can look at one of my other videos from 4 months ago. It's like the best lineup you didn't know about. I talk about this vehicle and the other 11.3 vehicles that can be found in here. I think these vehicles by far are the greatest thing, right? It's the greatest lineup. One of my favorite things to play. But this vehicle, it's essentially just this guy here, right? The STB2. Now, there are some minor differences like a Bismod and whatnot, right? That makes this thing look very different. One thing that's a little interesting, if you don't like those tires on the back, well, you can say goodbye to the tires and uninstall them, right? I don't know if that really changes much, but you can take them off if that's something that interests you, right? I personally, again, just to wrap up this vehicle, I don't really think it's worth picking up, right? There's a lot better options in terms of premium vehicles for ground that you can do. So with that said, we'll move on to the next nation. So going off of the trends again of looking at squadron vehicles. This one was not ready for a while, right? The VT5, they were taking a while, and it still has some minor things that they might need to tweak out. But this vehicle is a Bangladesh, I believe, yes, squadron vehicle at 10.7. So the problem with this vehicle is, if we look here, there isn't really a 10.7 lineup that it can run with, right? Now you get up tier it to 11.0, but again, there's a very limited amount of 11.0s, but you can make it work, right? You want to run these, run that, run this bad boy, and the Al-Qaid, maybe the T-80UD, toss that in there if you got it. You can run it with the Antelope, right, or the Tor M1. So I think if you want to play this thing, you definitely got to up tier it to a 11.0, right? Not the worst thing in the world. It is a light vehicle, and it gets, we'll see if the shells have been updated. So not quite yet, right? I'm sure it's going to get a better shell than this, some sort of dart that will be comparable in penetration, right? It is a 105, so the spalling isn't going to be insane for the BR, but it's not going to be bad, right? You'll definitely be able to put some well-placed shots into people. So we'll keep that one, just keep in mind, take a look at the shells, see if the penetration works for you, right? Obviously, that's the thing that they haven't fixed yet on this vehicle. So, moving on to the next nation, we look at Italy. So, Italy has an Ariete, right? I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. The Camonet, I guess, was uninstalled for some reason. You get a Camonet. The real life variant, I guess, didn't have a Camonet, and I'm glad that they added it to this one, just because it looks really cool, right? But that's about going to be the most I'm going to say about this vehicle, right? So you do get DM53. The reload rate can be, you can get it down to 5 seconds. Personally, I am the biggest Ariete hater, bro. So this is essentially the same exact thing that's in the tech tree. This bad boy right here. And you do have all the same modifications. You can uninstall the war kit. It takes it off, right? There's no real reason to do that. But if you want to, you can take it off on both the premium one and the tech tree one, right? See, it just kind of beefs up the side of the turrets and the front of it. This vehicle, though, I don't think it's worth, guys. I'm going to be real. Net plus war kit. So I guess, okay, that's a bit weird. I guess they got to fix those things. Normally you'd see a war kit here, right? It's obviously not on. But the Ariete is just kind of middle of the pack for speed. It's not the fastest thing in the world, right? You're dealing with something that's like a Challenger 2 in terms of speed. The gun used to be miserable, right? It used to be like an 8-second reload. They've since nerfed it down to where you can get it down to 5. But even still, right? This gun, it's just like, it never feels good. You know, just because the platform it's on is not very mobile. It's not very well armored. I think the vehicle is definitely very pretty. If you're looking for something to grind ground, I guess it is a decent pickup, right? I don't know about, you know, maybe picking up these two guys or the Panzer H-2000 is a lot of fun. Obviously, it's not going to grind the whole tech tree, so you'd want to be looking at one of these or the RGO, which is not showing in here on the dev server. But RGO, I think, if you're looking for something at the top tier, right, and let's say you got a handful of vehicles here and you're looking to finish up something and you just want something that's got premium earn rates, you know, you pick it up. But there is a lot of stuff in this lineup that is just frankly better, right? So I don't know. You know, I don't know about picking up this guy here. I don't know if it's worth the price tag currently. Maybe if it's on sale, but I would not recommend pre-ordering this with the major update. So, moving on to France. So basically, it's just the Clovis again. You get your 20mm autocannon, which will allow you to shred light vehicles. You get the 105, which will allow you to deal with anything bigger, and you got the same 5-second reload. Only difference is, instead of a pre-order, this one will cost GE. Now, this one probably won't be as good of a deal if you're looking to purchase it, because I'm not sure what the price is going to be yet, right? But if I'm trying to, what do rank 5 premiums usually cost? Because we're not going to use that one for reference. That's just an expensive rank 4. Let's see here. Rank 5s are, yeah, about 8,000. So you're going to have to buy about $50 worth of GE, right? Which I believe the pre-order on the German Clovis is cheaper, and you'll get some GE as well on top of that. And I mean, yeah, so you'll probably get the same value, but for $40 that you can just purchase the pack versus this guy here where you'd buy it with GE. So I don't know. I think this one is definitely going to be a good grinder, right, for rank 5 if you're looking for that. You have the AMX-30 that you can pick up, and that would be a very helpful grinder, right, in terms of stuff. But, you know, it's not as good of a deal as the German one, I think, but still a great deal if you're looking to pick up something for France, right, rank 5, allowing you to unlock all of rank 6. Just keep in mind, it will not let you grind top tier with that vehicle. But if you're just looking for something that's fun, middle of the road, rank 5, I know I have a lot of rank 5 enjoyers out there that really like the mid-tier stuff. This will treat you well. Just keep in mind, it does not have a stabilizer, but the gun is pretty stable when moving. Definitely try that out in the test drive yourself just to get a feel for it, right? Because I could show you this in the test drive, but it's more of a feeling kind of thing, right? Like you have to be controlling the vehicle to know what I mean. So definitely just try it out and test drive with the vehicle going forward and see how easy it is to hit targets while moving. I will say the 20mm though, keep in mind it is mounted into the hull, so it's not like other vehicles where you can kind of swivel around the gun or anything. You have to aim it at the target, very much so like the Terms 3 premium for Germany, but that's not the biggest thing to be worried about, right? And then Sweden is just getting the F-18, so we'll skip on by that and move straight into the Netz. So what is there not to say about this vehicle? It is essentially just a better version of the tech tree Netz that we all know and love, right? You get the best flight model in terms of F-16s, right? You're going to be able to pull really tight with this thing. You get a slightly longer tail than the tech tree Netz, which I don't really think changes too much about the flight model, if at all, right? You do get access to a boatload of countermeasures, being 180 of them, right? This thing gets more countermeasures than the tech tree one. So if you haven't seen a pattern already, this one is just blatantly better than the Netz and the tech tree, and at the same battle rating. So if you're looking for something that's pretty fun, I would definitely recommend this premium. This one will be great for grinding out the Israeli air tree. I think this one is probably one of the best values. I don't know how much this is going to be, or if it's going to even cost anything, right? It might even cost GE, right? Because we haven't seen a pre-order pack for it, and update seems to be looking like it might come out next week. So if that is the case, expect to see a pack. I would expect this thing to either be between $70 and $80 if it is a pack. Again, you know, it's like the F-18 situation. It's definitely good value if you're looking to grind out an entire tree. If you're just looking for something to purchase just for fun to have a jet, I don't know if it's really worth the price tag then at that point. But if you're somebody that's one of those people, I know there's plenty of people in this game that want to race for whatever the next top tier is in a certain nation, right? This would definitely allow you to accelerate very quickly, especially with the great rewards over here on top of that. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is this thing has no access to any radar missiles, but it does get access to Python 3s, which are 40G IR missiles, and really, really good IR missiles, especially for 12.7 air. Now, another thing that this thing gets access to is some ground pound munitions. So if we look here, you get some dumb bombs, some GBUs, some big GBUs, and other dumb bombs, some incendiaries, some AGM-65Bs, and rockets, obviously. Obviously, for air-to-air, in terms of air realistic battles, I'd recommend only running the 3 Pythons. You do have access to AIM-9Ls if, for whatever reason, you want to use those over the Pythons. I wouldn't recommend it. Python 3s are just a little bit better. Or not even a little bit. They're just better than the AIM-9Ls. But yeah, you know, nothing crazy in terms of ground pound, but nothing bad by any means. You can definitely take this into a top tier. Definitely bring this into a top tier ground match. Alrighty, so that is all the premiums of the next major update that will be coming out very soon. The ones that I think are the biggest bang for your buck, or the best vehicles in terms of premiums, are, so the best premiums I think are going to be the Netz and maybe F-18C, right? That one I'm a little weary on. It's not as confident, right? I think the Harrier T.10 is going to be pretty good in terms of ground pound, right? In those ground matches, I think it's going to excel there. I think the Type 74 Red Star is going to do fine at 8.3. Has a decent lineup there. I think the Clovis is going to do quite well, right? But the one things I would say to avoid this major update in terms of premium vehicles is going to be the Ariete Premium, right? Unless you are a person that really, really wants the Italian ground tree, I would not recommend it, right? But yeah, the things that I would just make sure, you know, it's within your budget. I wouldn't say go around buying premiums willy-nilly. They are very expensive in this game. You can buy a whole brand new game. I mean, for the price of the F-18C Early, right, you could buy a AAA game as well as something else for $20, right? Depending on the AAA game, or something else for $10, just depending on the price of that game, right? But it's definitely not going to be a bad vehicle. It's definitely going to be the best grinder probably for the American tree, unless you're a bomber kind of guy. Then I'd recommend just picking up the F4S when it's on sale. F4S, if you're not looking to do much air-to-air combat, right, in terms of grinding, and you just, yeah, ignore the image. It's not an F-15. Although an F-15 premium would be quite cool. Just do keep in mind that this, I only recommend picking this up if you're planning on doing air-to-air only, right? I would not recommend bombing in the slightest, because I could see somebody who is an avid F-18 enjoyer, right? Me personally, I love the F-15s. But let's say you're an avid F-18 fan, right? You have to remember that if you do, like, just because something has bombs does not mean you should try and go for bases with it. Because, I mean, what? It's like 5,000 pounds of explosives that you need. This carries 1,000, so there's 4, there's 8, and that's a small bomb in the center there. So it's not really going to contribute much. But let's say you're on those bombs. You're only going to be able to carry 4 air-to-air missiles, 2 of them being IR guided, 2 of them being radar. It's just not going to be a good situation in air. I would not recommend doing that to yourself, right? Now, if you're using it against ground targets, yeah, you get AGM 65s, E's, and all that stuff. Paveways, or not paveways, it's just oh yeah, the GBU paveways. Little out of it, but I would just recommend doing the air-to-air loadout on this, okay? It's an important claim there, because I know a lot of new players who like the F-18 are going to buy this and then be very upset when they realize that the F-18 is kind of slow, right? Now, I'm not saying the Phantom is fast by any means, but the F-4S can break Mach when carrying a bunch of bombs, and you can get 2 bases versus the F-18, which will get 1 base, and I don't know if it's going to break Mach because it can barely break Mach on the deck with the missile loadout, right? So just keep that in mind. But with that said, I hope you guys found this video useful, helpful, right? Just did a little bit of insight into the premium vehicles and what my experience was so far on the dev server. Obviously, we looked at some of the squadron vehicles. Obviously, I recommend that you grind out the squadron vehicles rather than purchasing them. But if you're really excited for them, by all means, go ahead and purchase those vehicles for especially those HE Slinger lovers that are out there. But with that said, I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, everyone.